All right. Well, good evening. How you doing? Thank you so much for joining. My name is Mike McGuire. I'm honored to represent the North Coast and the North Bay and the California State Senate. We are so grateful that you have joined us for this critical community conversation about hunger on the North Coast, hunger in the state of California, and throughout the United States of America. Let's take a look. This is amazing. We have 572 folks going up every second that I speak, 572 strong joining us for our important community conversation on hunger. Now, tonight's town hall, it is going to be interactive. And the most important part of tonight is hearing from each and every one of you. If you'd like to be able to join us, it's really simple to do so. Email us. Email your questions, your comments, your concerns. We're taking your criticisms as well. Senator.mcguire@senate.ca.gov. Again, email us your questions and your comments. We look forward to hearing from you. Senator.mcguire@senate.ca.gov. We are live right now for our Hunger Town Hall. We are now up to about 680 folks. Thank you all and good evening. Thank you for joining us tonight. Look, the reason why we wanted to be able to come together this evening is because of this. Across America, nearly 50 million Americans, 1 in 5 kids are going hungry tonight. 1 in 5 kids, 50 million Americans across this nation. 7 million seniors across the country are food insecure. These senior citizens who are food insecure are having to choose between putting food in their bellies each and every night and paying their bills for prescriptions or rent. 42 million Americans utilize federal food assistance every month. That's 1 in 8 Americans. 2/3 of folks who are on federal food assistance programs, 2/3 of folks who are on federal food assistance programs who work are working full time. And that just speaks to the massive income inequality challenge that we have across this nation. And now the bedrock program that provides the social safety net for hungry families and kids and seniors, it's called SNAP, the Federal Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program, which has been around since the Great Depression. It has been gutted by Congress and President Trump. This is not meant to be political, but just speaking to the facts, it's absolutely been gutted. Over the next 10 years, SNAP will be cut by $187 billion across this nation. What does that mean in California? Federal cuts will mean $3 to $5 billion less every year in food assistance programs for the most vulnerable. So let's talk about who that's going to impact here in the Golden State. 1 million kids are expected to see their food assistance gutted or completely cut. California veterans, over 100,000 California veterans are expected to see their food assistance gutted or completely cut. Seniors on fixed income will see their federal food assistance gutted or cut, along with Californians with developmental disabilities. And candidly, these cuts are going after the most vulnerable in our society, while the richest billionaires are receiving the largest tax cuts in a generation. And I want to be clear, these cuts have nothing to do with the federal shutdown. The cuts that have been advanced by President Trump have already taken place. They took place weeks ago, acted upon Congress and President Trump. Now, I want to counter a narrative that we've heard a lot about leading into tonight about hunger in America. We heard from a few dozen folks the reason why President Trump is making cuts to federal food assistance programs is to get folks who may be undocumented off of it. I want to be very clear. If you are an undocumented resident in this country, you do not qualify for SNAP food assistance benefits, full stop. And the reason why I'm really upset about this, J.D. Vance, our vice president, the vice president of the United States, was on SNAP benefits when he was a kid. And that is how egregious this action is. When you get into a position of power, you should want to change for the good those kids who are struggling, not take away, especially if you've seen the power of what these programs can do. Unfortunately, these cuts have already been made, and California is now responding. So let's talk about what California, the legislature and the governor is now doing. We've taken major action to be able to bolster and support the life-changing work that food banks are doing up and down the California coast. In this year's budget, the legislature has advanced more than $81 million for the Cal Food Program, which directly supports purchasing of food by California's food banks and distributing California-grown food to millions across the state. This means $81 million is now already being distributed to food banks in big cities and small in every corner of California. In addition, the state advanced an additional $62 million to help food banks improve their data systems, to be able to get more folks enrolled quicker, to be able to get more folks recertified quicker, to be able to help expedite and make their operations more efficient. It is a big investment, but I want to be very clear, it is not enough to make up for those federal cuts that we'll start seeing hitting in a major way in 2026. Now, the state of California is also focusing on kids. We are the first state in the United States of America to be able to advance for every elementary, middle, and high school student universal school meals. What does that mean? This means that every student at every public high school in every corner of California now has access to free breakfast and lunch and after school snacks. And the reason we did this is all of the research shows that kids with hungry tummies don't do as well in school versus students who eat 3 square meals a day. Now, I also want to be clear, and you're going to hear from Suzanne Morales, who's president of the California School Nutrition Association. These meals are healthy. They also help combat the adolescent obesity crisis that we have in the state and across America. But again, it also enhances academic performance in the classroom. And we are really excited that this program is in place. And you'll hear from Suzanne in just a moment. Now, we have an all-star panel who will be talking with us here tonight and answering your questions. We're going to hear from Allison Goodwin. She is the president and CEO of the Redwood Empire Food Bank, the largest food bank between the Golden Gate Bridge and the Oregon border. You're going to be hearing from her in just a moment. We're then going to be hearing from Carly Robbins. She is the executive director of Food for People, does life-changing work in the county of Humboldt and the North Coast each and every day. And then we're going to hear from Suzanne Morales. She is president of the California School Nutrition Association. She is also the director of nutrition services at the Placentia Yorba Linda Unified School District. Again, we're really grateful for each of these leaders being with us tonight. One more reminder, make sure you email your questions in now, senator.mcguire@senate.ca.gov. We're taking your questions live, all on the issue of hunger, on the federal cuts, what California is doing about it, senator.mcguire@senate.ca.gov. Without further ado, it is now my absolute honor to be able to introduce Allison Goodwin. She has dedicated her life to changing the lives of others. Madam CEO, we are so excited that you've joined us. Your job, more important than ever. We're grateful to you, to your team for combating hunger, combating poverty on the North Coast. The floor is yours. Good evening. It's nice to see you.
Thank you so much for having me. Really, alongside 11,000 dedicated volunteers, we show up every day for a community that, if anybody is seeking food assistance, we want to be there for them. So we cover from Sonoma County to the Oregon border, as you mentioned, Sonoma, Lake, Mendocino, Humboldt, and Del Norte counties. We have direct service food distributions. We have a partner network of 130 nonprofit and faith-based organizations. But really at the core of that is just showing up for our community. The last several months, we've seen extreme, unprecedented challenges. And we're really grateful that you're having this conversation tonight to highlight what's been happening in our community so we can let constituents know and people can stand up and make change.
Thank you so much, Madam Executive Director. She's going to be going into some of the details here in just a few moments. We're grateful for her work. We are now going to introduce Carly Robbins. She's the Executive Director for Food for People. She is focused on distributing thousands of food to thousands in every corner of Humboldt. Half of those who she serves are kids and seniors. Madam Executive Director, I am so grateful for what you do each and every day, what your team does each and every day. Madam Executive Director, take it away. Thank you for joining us tonight.
Well, thanks for having me. I'm really grateful for the opportunity to be here and share what it is that we're seeing. A lot has changed for food banks very recently, from increases in need to reduction in resources. So, I'm happy to be able to share what Humboldt County is seeing, how we're trying to address it, and what we're seeing for the future. If we take a look at what we're seeing every single day, we've seen increases in our need for food assistance in our community. If we take a year-to-year look, we've seen increases from 5% one year to as high as 30%. And if we look at how many people we are serving every single day right now compared to the beginning of 2020, we've seen a 75% increase. We're now serving over 16% of our county's population. And unfortunately, we do expect to see these increases continue because we have seen the largest increases in need for our services when there are changes to programs like SNAP. So I'm happy to be here and be able to share.
Thank you so much. And we're going to be taking your questions in just a few moments. I will be honest, we are getting inundated with your questions and your comments. Thank you so much. We're up to 800 folks from across Northern California who have joining us, 807. Thank you so much to each and every one of you. But before we get to questions and comments, we're going to turn it over to Suzanne Morales. She is president of the California School Nutrition Association. She's going to be talking to us right now about the importance of the Universal School Meal Program that has been implemented in every public high school, big and small, across the state of California. It's been a game changer. Madam President, thank you. Thank you for your leadership each and every day and for getting that healthy food into the bellies of kids up and down the state. Ms. Morales, the floor is yours.
Thank you so much for the opportunity to share. I do represent California School Nutrition Association, but I've been humbled to be put in this position by the over 2,000 members that we have for the association. I represent all school districts throughout the entire state of California, as well as many of our industry partners that help us in providing these meals to students. As Senator McGuire had said, California is the first state in the union to offer universal meals. And at this time, there are only 9 out of the 50 states that actually do this program. We have seen an increase in meal participation since COVID and universal meals was implemented. We serve more than 884 million breakfasts and lunches throughout the state in the years 24-25. We represent not only breakfast and lunch, but as we stated earlier, after school snack program. But in addition to that, many school districts also run an after school at-risk supper program to more of our higher need school sites. And it is K-12, actually now even preschool. We're feeding as students as young as 3 and 4 years old, all the way through graduation at the high school level. So I'm very honored to represent that group. We're a highly regulated group of nutritionists in each of those school districts. We're regulated by state as well as federal programs. And the CDC has said in the past that school meal programs actually are the healthiest meals that our children are receiving across the board because we have such highly regulated meals.
That is amazing. That's Suzanne Morales, president of the California School Nutrition Association, and a nutritionist herself. In her day job, she is also on the ground feeding literally thousands of kids within the Placentia, Yorba Linda School District. We're really grateful for your hard work. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we are going to get right into the questions, your comments, your concerns. I want to remind you, this is an interactive event. We want to hear from you tonight. Thank you so much. I will tell you, you are moving, and we have a lot of questions for our all-star panel. If you'd like to get in touch with us, though, right now, senator.mcguire@senate.ca.gov. Let's get right into it. Ms. Morales, the first The first question is coming in from Margaret in Arcata. How can we be assured that school food services will not be affected by the federal government? Ms. Morales, take it away.
Sure. Well, the president has said on the federal level that school nutrition will not be affected, and that is true on the overlying level in the fact that they're not going to be cutting funding specifically for federal school meals. However, with the changes in SNAP funding, we're very concerned here in California with how students will qualify for free and reduced meals. Right now, while the state is gracious in picking up the extra money, if you will, to allow school districts to offer meals at no charge, that really comes from the state putting that as a high priority. However, that bill will get larger with the changes in SNAP funding. So we have the commitment right now by our California legislature to really fund those meals. But we do have concerns as time goes on, making sure that that happens.
Yeah, you're absolutely right, Madam President. I think the biggest challenge, Madam President, I'm going to ask you to chime in on this, is that, look, we are facing billions of dollars of cuts from the federal government here starting in 2026. SNAP is a major part of that, $3 to $5 billion in lost federal assistance for food programs across this state. We're looking at Medicaid cuts at the end of 2026, which has already been passed by Congress, signed into law by President Trump. Millions of Californians will lose their health care. I think the challenge, Ms. Morales, and please push back on me, is how much this state is going to be able to backfill depending on how ugly this is going to be with the federal government. Ms. Morales, I don't want to put words in your mouth, but I think that's the dilemma we find ourselves in.
Absolutely, you're correct in that. The state has really utilized the state assistance to school nutrition as really a priority, putting over $650 million towards school meals. And so how much more can the state bear is definitely a concern for us. The governor has put it as a very high priority. The first partner has put it as a high priority, but you only have so much funds to go around. And so we in school nutrition are taking the time at the federal level to lobby for, the food assistance to remain at the school for school meals as well.
That's Suzanne Morales, president of the California School Nutrition Association. We're now going to be going to Madam CEO Allison Goodwin from the Redwood Empire Food Bank. This comes in from Scott, who is on the Sonoma North Coast. Is community pantry acceptance of fruits and vegetables from individual home gardens prohibited? If so, is the prohibition by policy or statute? Is this also true for the food bank? Please comment on this, CEO Goodwin.
We welcome all food donations. So we certainly will take, any donations that people have from their own, home gardens, backyard, gleaning. We take especially local produce. We're really blessed in this region that there are gleaning organizations, nonprofits that we partner with, and just folks that come in with too many lemons and are happy to share. So we can definitely make use of that. In fact, we want to reduce waste in the landfill just as much as we want to feed bellies. And so we're happy to take donations as people have them.
So again, there's a wonderful organization called Farm to Pantry who goes out and gleans in Sonoma County. But if someone wanted to bring in a box of apples, a box of oranges, they're more than welcome to do so, Ms. Goodwin,
Yes.
At the Redwood Empire Food Bank.
Yes, absolutely. In fact, we have really robust food drives. I know Carly has food drives. And so, find a barrel, find a sign, bring us all of your backyard anythings, and we'll make use of it, certainly.
Thank you so much. That's Allison Goodwin from Redwood Empire Food Bank. We're now going to turn it over to Carly Robbins, Executive Director of Food for People. Carly, you have seen ranchers come in with whole hogs that they donate, right? Half of a beef cow. I mean, folks get really innovative on what they donate to you. And you work with all sides, whether it's produce or beef or lamb. You'll take it all. Take it away, Carly.
Yeah. Similarly, we will take any food donation to take advantage of. We have an amazing local growing system here in Humboldt County, and we work with lots of our local farmers, not only doing selective purchasing to help support them, but they also support us in turn. They'll call us when they have extra produce. The same goes for backyard gardeners. We have a gleaning coordinator and a team of volunteers who will go help access produce that folks can't pick themselves if they have abundant apple trees or something like that, and we will put it to good use. We also want to reduce as much food waste as we can and get as much usable food into the hands of folks who can use it. So call us or drop off. We will take any and all food donations. We get really creative. We have amazing ranchers here, as Senator McGuire said. So cows, hogs have been donated in the past. We'll take it all.
I think at the Humboldt Holiday Food Drive a couple years back, we had some beef ranchers come in and donate a couple of their cattle as well, which was just amazing.
Yeah.
A little hard to transport when it arrives at the food drive, but Carly makes it work. Let's go to our next comment. This is coming in from Melinda. Melinda says, I'm in favor of federal dollars not going to people here illegally. No healthcare or food stamps for those who are here illegally. You cannot deny that there's a lot of fraud in these programs and that it needs to be removed. We cannot afford to keep doing this reckless spending. Melinda, I got to be candid with you, ma'am. It is against federal law. It's against federal law for those who are undocumented to receive federal food assistance. Folks who are undocumented residents in the United States of America do not receive food assistance. Full stop. Folks who are undocumented residents do not receive federal health care assistance. It's against the law. Where I feel frustrated, if I could be candid, Melinda, is when I hear our president and our vice president saying that folks who are undocumented are taking food assistance and benefits. It is just hogwash. It is a lie. It's a lie. It's against federal law. She also says that to tell Schumer to stop holding up the government. Look, just being honest, the Republicans control the House, the U.S. Senate, and the presidency. Democrats do not. If they wanted to open up the government, they could do so tomorrow. They literally control every branch of government in Washington, D.C. Melinda, though, I'm really grateful for your comment. We appreciate you. Thank you so much for emailing in and very, very grateful for your thoughts. I'm going to go to Jody. Jody is coming to us from Petaluma. As senior citizens in mobile home parks in Petaluma, we are thankful that our Meal on Wheels are still being funded privately. But the concern that is if this goes away, some seniors will no longer receive meals. How do we calm the stress of those seniors who care so much about it and need it? Carly, why don't we go to you from Food for People?
Yeah, seniors are a large portion of who we help and who our fellow partners at programs like the Humboldt Senior Resource Center help. And they're definitely the ones living on low fixed incomes who need this kind of assistance. And the changes to SNAP are going to be very concerning. In Humboldt County, we have 23% of individuals throughout the county who rely on SNAP benefits. And of those, 12% are likely to be affected by the implementation of the expanded time limit requirements that are coming for SNAP. So it is very concerning. We are all doing our best to make sure those kinds of programs can continue. Thankfully, I can say here in Humboldt County, folks have really shown up as a community to make sure that Food for People can continue our programs. And the state has really made an investment into food banks. The Cal Food program, which allows us to purchase California produced foods, has really saved us. So even with the cuts we have seen, we've been able to continue services and not turn anyone away. So that's how we are helping folks and making sure that those resources are there for them.
Thank you so much. That's Carly Robbins, Executive Director of Food for People. I'm now going to go to Allison Goodwin. Ms. Goodwin, I know that the Council on Aging does amazing work. Talk to us, though, about what you know on Meals on Wheels. The reason why I bring up Council on Aging, they manage and execute the Meals on Wheels program. Talk to us about that. And the other piece is, Ms. Goodwin, for that $81 million that's coming in from the state, you're able to multiply that greatly for every dollar that you use. And if you could talk about the multiplier for food banks with state bucks. Allison Goodwin, Madam CEO, take it away on Meals on Wheels. And if you want to talk about the multiplier, please.
Yeah, I'll actually start with the multipliers because I do think that's important. So both from a SNAP perspective and from CalFood. So if we start with SNAP, which in California is known as CalFresh, but it's the same thing. For every meal that a food bank can provide, SNAP provides 9. So the Redwood Empire Food Bank provides 28 million meals a year. If you multiply that times 9, it's somewhere in the bargain basement, I don't know, 250 million, 200 and something million dollars or meals. And so the fact that that is at risk, like even if all of us show up and do all that we can, having a safety net program like SNAP being gutted is really concerning for the rest of us that are providing supplemental nutrition programs. That goes for kids in schools, that goes for seniors that are relying on us for groceries, or for programs like Meals on Wheels that locally to us here are run by Council on Aging. I'm friends with the CEO of Council on Aging. We were together the other night at the Board of Supervisors meeting. And so we find ourselves looking each other in the face going, golly, how are you doing? And how are you doing? I know they don't want seniors on a wait list. I know they're doing all that they can to show up for seniors that are saying, well, the reason we need Meals on Wheels is because we're not able to have access to transportation. We're not able to work. We're not able to prepare those meals ourselves. So I think if the community hears nothing, it's that all of these nutrition programs need to be solvent. Those that have a higher calling to serve, meals specifically for seniors, those that are serving children in school, and then those of us that are food banks and kind of doing the come one, come all and trying to make ends meet for everybody. For CalFood funding, again, food banks are able to stretch not only California dollars, but donor dollars. So for every dollar that we get, we can really produce and purchase $3 worth of meals. And the reason we can do that is just from a purchasing power. That's why the state has chosen food banks to say this is an economic stimulus. I mean, it's good for the economy and it's good for the people that are facing hunger, but it's a way that we can maximize. Food banks really share across the state. We work together closely with the California Association of Food Banks, and we share truckloads of kiwi and tomatoes and watermelon and potatoes. And there's really a logistical infrastructure that's packaged with a lot of love and hope in the form of groceries. So.
No, thank you so much. That's amazing. And really good statistics. Allison Goodwin, President and CEO of the Redwood Empire Food Bank. If you're just joining us, good evening. We're over 800 strong. We are so appreciative that you're tuning in to our town hall on hunger. We have 3 amazing panelists, all hunger busters, focusing on busting poverty and hunger in their communities and across the state. Allison Goodwin, President and CEO of the Redwood Empire Food Bank. Carly Robbins, Executive Director of Food for People, the Food Bank of Humboldt County. Suzanne Morales, President of the California School Nutrition Association. They are all here to answer your questions, and you can email us right now. And thank you. We have so many that have come in. Senator.mcguire@senate.ca.gov. Email us your questions, your comments, your concerns. Senator.mcguire@senate.ca.gov. We're now going to go to our next question. This is coming in from Nick in Guerneville. What, if anything, are the speakers doing to address the needs of the local people of color who are living in the shadows during the existing cruel federal policies? All right, let's go to Suzanne Morales, President of the California School Nutrition Association. When we talked yesterday, Madam President, you had said, in particular, there are a lot of Latino families and kids who are scared based off of what we're seeing with these ICE raids, indiscriminate and cruel. Talk to us about that and how our school nutritionists working across the board to make sure that those most vulnerable kids are getting fed.
Well, I think that, thank you for the question, because I think Universal Meals really has dedicated that time to that. What the benefit for Universal Meals is none of our children are identified one way or the other. They show up to the cafeteria, they get a meal, and they go and eat their meal. There is no questions, there's no paperwork for families. So every child is treated as a child, not as a statistic. And so we're really able to serve the entire population. The lovely thing, honestly, about Universal Meals is there's no stigma attached now. A child who may or may not be able to afford a meal is offered a meal. And the other piece of that is now they don't look different or separate. Prior to universal meals, I worked in an urban, very urban district, and I, being in cafeterias, would hear, things like, you have to eat state food. That's very, from a social standpoint, can be very demeaning. So the lovely thing about universal meals is we're able to feed all students. And so friend groups come as a group, whether they're socioeconomically disadvantaged or not. Every child gets a qualified teacher. Every child gets a classroom. Why shouldn't every child get a meal? And that's part of the school day now. And that has just really broken so many barriers to access for school meals.
Thank you so much, Suzanne Morales, President of the California School Nutrition Association. Carly Robbins, we're going to turn it over to you. Food for People, the Food Bank of Humboldt County. I'm going to go back to Nick's question. What are you doing to address the needs of local people of color who are living in the shadows? Please, Carly, the floor is yours.
Well, for us, there is very much truth in that a lot of folks are afraid to come out for assistance programs kind of across the board right now because of the climate. So the way we have found best is to partner with trusted organizations who work directly with those groups, who go directly to them, partnering anything from our Hmong Lao population to our Latino population, and those organizations who are already trusted leaders. We are fortunate to have a vast array of partnerships who help us do that, to help us get food into the hands of the folks who need it. And, we want to make everything as welcoming as we can. So we're bringing food to folks in their own communities.
That's amazing. Thank you so much, Carly. Madam CEO, 60 seconds or less. What is the Redwood Empire Food Bank doing, especially for folks of color who are living in the shadows? Nick from Guerneville asked the question. Please take it away.
We have a really robust proxy system that we've had for years. So it's not new to the current climate of fear necessarily, but it certainly works for that purpose too. So if somebody is otherwise not available to pick up their own groceries, they can name somebody else that can do it for them. So that's a really safe and accessible way for people to have their own kind of home delivery model with somebody that they trust and it's of their choosing. And then we also have a lot of grassroots efforts of people saying, gosh, how can I help and how can I get food to people that need it? But we really want to empower those individuals to choose who that person is. So we're not even sending, somebody who appears to be wanting to help, but is really a stranger to them. We're just trying to build systems and infrastructure that supports them in choosing who gets groceries for them.
Allison Goodwin, CEO of the Redwood Empire Food Bank. We're now going to go to Megan from Kelseyville. Thank you so much for emailing, Megan. I'm a senior, only working part-time, but I don't qualify for SNAP benefits. I totally appreciate and take advantage of the Senior Food Monthly. I don't know what I would do if that wasn't available. Could that program be saved? Madam CEO, take it away.
Yeah, I think the tricky part is she's probably referring to the Commodity Supplemental Food Program, which is another federal program that's set up specifically for people over 60. We have had a reduction in caseload. And so there was a reduction across the country and specifically in California at the federal level. And so there is a slight reduction in that program, but it's not something that we're anticipating to go away. We're still providing that service across the region that we serve. And of course, we supplement that with the bounty of fresh produce and protein and anything else that we can provide in addition to that kit for seniors.
Allison Goodwin, President and CEO of the Redwood Empire Food Bank. We're now going to be going to our next question, and that's going to be with Carly Robbins, Executive Director of Food for People. Mike writes in from Healdsburg, talking about unemployment minimum payments. He says that unemployment minimum payments are already way below the average income and does not allow for the average Californian to pay rent and or mortgage, utilities, gas, food, etc. Allowing unemployment not to count as income with the SNAP program would make up for this imbalance. Mike makes a lot of sense there. Folks who are unemployed, many times not because of their own doing, are penalized since they count that as revenue coming into the individual. Carly Robbins, Executive Director of Food for People, your thoughts.
It's true. And, from folks on unemployment to even people who are working and still not making ends meet, those kind of deductions can really impact benefits. And lots of SNAP benefits don't go very far at the grocery store for families. We serve thousands of people who already receive SNAP CalFresh benefits, and it just doesn't make ends meet. So they're coming to the food bank for additional assistance. So benefit levels and making sure that extra deductions aren't counting against would go a long way to making sure that those benefits are really helping the folks that they need to be helping.
Holly Robbins, Executive Director of Food for People in Humboldt County. I want to go to Linda Liu, coming to us from Middletown. Good evening, Linda. Thank you so much for tuning in tonight. Linda says, what efforts are being made to support the disabled and elder community during this crisis? It's a really good question. And that's one of our deep concerns. The federal SNAP cuts, the Federal Food Assistance Program, one of the populations, in addition to kids and seniors and veterans, whose benefits are on the chopping block, are Californians with developmental disabilities. That is going to hit next year. The federal government, President Trump has already taken action on that. So right now, folks with developmental disabilities currently on federal food assistance, they're going to continue to see that, but that program will see a significant cut, some full elimination next year. Ms. Goodwin, your thoughts on that?
It's going to be significant. Like Carly touched upon, all of these programs are supplemental. So SNAP benefits don't probably get any family that's on that program through the month wholeheartedly. They probably find that their children, if they have children, are accessing school meals. They probably are leveraging whatever, pantries and food distributions that they can to get through the month. They likely are on Medi-Cal too. And if they need to go to the doctor, are leveraging that as well. So none of these benefits are so outlandish and overly supportive. It's really just a minimum allotment that they can get based upon their income, especially considering California is such a high cost of living area. So the idea that what are seniors on a fixed income going to do? So back to her question, that's what we're here for, is of course we're here tonight to raise awareness. But the ask will be that anybody that can afford to give time and money and food and advocacy efforts to this, it's really important that they do, because we can't do it alone. We want to show up for the community, which is why we're having these conversations. But to think that, Carly can do it all in Humboldt and, we can do it all in the counties that we serve is just not realistic, or that all the nutrition that kids need, they'll get from school. That's not realistic either. So that's the importance of this conversation. And really for those seniors, they have a voice too. They vote and they can advocate and they can show up to our food distributions and call us, and we're happy to help.
Allison, I want to ask, so much, I'm just going to be blunt, a lot of what we live in right now, people are on one side or the other, right? And what I am deeply concerned about is we should not identify as Republicans or Democrats, but we're all Americans first. And I feel like we have lost some of that. And the bottom line of this, and I don't want to put words in your mouth, Madam CEO, but the bottom line of this, these draconian cuts doesn't favor one political party or another. It's going to impact the most vulnerable Americans across the board. Allison, how bad will it be for the Redwood Empire Food Bank when these SNAP cuts take effect?
I'd like to reflect on, as people have called in the last few months and said, or they've asked, how are things at the Redwood Empire Food Bank? And my response has been, it depends on who's asking. So quite honestly, if somebody who turns to us for help is asking, we're good. We're solid. We're there for them. They can show up for food distributions. We're not going anywhere. If a pantry partner is asking, we're going to keep doing all that we can to secure the food needed that they can support their community. If a volunteer is asking, we need their help. If a donor is asking, we absolutely need their help. So I'm not going to misguide the community that we don't need help, because we absolutely do. But you're right. It's not about what political party you're in. And it's really not about blaming somebody else why somebody else is hungry. It's fundamentally a basic human right to be able to live in a safe community with dignity and a full belly. That's really not even very much to ask for. And if people are hungry and angry, we're not going to feel safe. And it won't really matter what political side of the aisle that you're on, or even what community that you're in. And so, not to completely bring down the room, but I mean, the idea of what we do for work and for fun and the people that show up to volunteer with us, it's a really great, kind, accessible place for people to turn to. So I don't want people to even hear this conversation and just walk away fearful. I want them to know we are the safety net. Like, we are where they're supposed to be turning to for help. So as much as it's a bummer and it is a fight and it is a challenge for us, it's also a moment for us to remind people that's precisely our mission, and what we're here for is for them.
It's your mission. And I'll just say, and again, I don't want to project onto you, and I'm going to turn it over to Carly. You can't do it alone. I mean, if you take a look, the biggest driver to help combat hunger since the Great Depression has been the SNAP program. It is federal food assistance. Literally, that is what the federal government does. And I want to remind folks who are watching, if you are an undocumented resident in this country, by federal law, you cannot receive federal food assistance. But I think that the piece is, Madam CEO, and I'll turn it over to Madam Executive Director, is you can't just do this through donations. You got to have that state and federal assistance to keep you moving. Madam CEO, am I incorrect on that?
No,
You
you're
are.
absolutely right.
Yeah,
Go ahead,
exactly.
Carly.
Please, Madam Executive Director, take it away.
Sorry, I was just going to echo what Allison was saying. It's a huge part of what food banks do. If we take a look at just the cuts that we have seen this year, to programs that let us purchase local foods using federal funds, to some of the commodities that we count on, and other contracts that we've seen reduced, we have lost approximately 850,000, which for a small rural serving food bank is a huge part of our budget. That's about 11% of our annual budget. Thankfully, our community has been showing up. They have seen the cuts. They have been making the calls to see how they can help, and they've been really showing up. I'm hopeful that will continue for the next several years as we wade through this uncertainty. But the reality is the federal supports that we get and our clients get through programs like SNAP are massive. Allison alluded to it earlier. Food banks cannot make up for what SNAP provides to folks for food assistance. That is just way beyond capacity that we have throughout the entire network. So, hopefully we can safeguard the supports that we do have, both federally and the huge investment the state has made into making sure food banks can continue. And hopefully our community continues to show up and support. Food for People, we're heading into our holiday season. This is when we collect the majority of the food and fund donations that we rely on for the remainder of the year. For us, it's all going to culminate on December 11th at Eureka Safeway with the senator, as well as the student leaders from our local high school for the big holiday food drive showdown, which is huge for us. So there are lots of ways for people to get involved and support, and it's all important to making us put all of this together.
No, you're absolutely right. I'm going to go to Suzanne Morales in just a moment, but I want to hit one item, Carly, if you don't mind. There's been a lot of talk that folks are milking the system. There's a lot of, quote, waste and fraud. But I want folks to hear from you, not from me. I'll give you the statistic from the federal government. 2/3 of folks working and on food assistance are working full time. Carly Robbins, Executive Director of Food for People, take it away. And can you dispel that myth that folks simply don't want to work? Because what they're getting from you is supposed to supplement, not take care of their family 365, 7 days a week. Carly.
That is very true. Food for People, we try and provide a lot of, various foods to everyone, but what we provide will not get someone through an entire month. This is meant to be a supplement to help families so that they can put funds toward other needed resources. And when we really look at who it is that we're serving, a quarter of them are children. A quarter are seniors living on low fixed incomes. These are folks who don't have the control over their budget and are really trying to make ends meet in an area where it costs a lot to live. And, the rest are really people, we refer to as the working poor. These are folks who work really hard to support their families, but just can't make it through the month. That's who we see day in and day out. And, it's not people trying to take advantage of the system.
It's full-time
If I could,
workers.
I'm sorry,
Yeah.
if I could just piggyback on what Carly had said too regarding school nutrition. California in and of itself, we know that the cost of living is high, higher than a lot of other places in the US. And so we qualify students prior to universal meals based on income, but it is not regionally indexed. So it is based on a national poverty level. So we saw absolutely the working poor. And even if you didn't qualify for free meals, they should have based on regional indexing, which is why universal meals for us is so sacred, and wanting to maintain that. But the SNAP funding losses will definitely impact that. And we've seen federal losses as well from our farm to school programs, which we're able to really put programs and purchasing in schools back into our community and our local farmers, and being able to use those local funds locally for our farm to schools for our farmers.
Yeah, Madam President, I'm gonna have you hit on that 30 seconds. There's additional overages from the feds and the state that allows you to be able to go and purchase from ranchers and farmers first, right? We try to do California first.
Mhm.
I want to touch on that 30 seconds. Then I want to go to our next question from Dee Dee in Novato. Please, Suzanne, take it away.
Well, we have been fortunate that they're not necessarily overages for us, but we are able to use some additional funding for putting those foods on the table, but really pouring those monies into our local farms. We do have legislative restrictions and saying that we want to obviously California first, which is a goal for all of us. And USDA has US foods in the way of commodities, as well as some of our grant funding goes directly back into our local area. And farm to school is a big hot button for us in the California School and Nutrition Association. We have a subcommittee specifically working with CDFA, or the California Department of Food and Agriculture, to really support our local farmers in the areas.
Thank you so much. That's Suzanne Morales, president of the California School Nutrition Association. We are now going to be going into a bit of a rocket round. So we're going to try to get to as many questions as possible. Senator.McGuire at senate.ca.gov, Senator.McGuire at senate.ca.gov. Easy for me to say. We are really grateful that you are joining us tonight for this critically important conversation about hunger in our community, in our state, and across the nation. Good evening, Dee Dee. Thank you so much. Writing in from Novato. This one is going to Ms. Morales. School meal programs already run at a loss, and with cuts to SNAP, more families are depending on school meals than ever. How will you make sure schools can keep feeding students without going deeper into the red? And should we be worried about the future of California's universal free meal program? I'll comment right after Ms. Morales, president of the California School Nutrition Association. Take it away, Suzanne.
Well, I actually did have a conversation with our Nutrition Services Division financial area, finding out kind of what our net cash resources look like across the board. I'm not sure if the public is aware, but Nutrition Services does not draw any funding from educational funds, from the general funds of schools. We are self-sufficient. And so it is our goal, and it is our job, if you will, as nutrition services directors across California and the US, to ensure that we are making good financial decisions, that the infrastructure of our schools and cafeterias. So we are doing some building now in case for the rainy day, if you will. school nutritionists don't necessarily all operate at a loss, but with the rising costs of labor and the increased needs for labor that is skilled in training and things, we are looking towards associations as well as some funding to do training as well to really maintain the being in the black.
100%. And look, there was some discussion earlier this year about, are we going to face some potential state reductions in regards to universal school meals? Absolutely not. 100% funded this year. I'll be honest, and Ms. Morales, you can comment on this, is look, every state is facing some massive headwinds coming from the federal government. The Medicaid cuts that are on the horizon and have already been approved is a disaster for California. One, it is going to blow a huge hole in the state budget if we were to backfill it, which I'll be really honest, I think would be really challenging to do. And then two, it is going to have a massive impact on rural hospitals and health centers in particular. So we are absolutely committed to the universal school meal program. I will say we are facing probably anywhere between $8 to $12 billion in federal cuts next year. And we're going to have to wait and see if those come to fruition. But many of those have already been acted upon. It's just going to be dependent on when they land based off of the budget bill that was passed by the federal government. Ms. Morales, I'll give you the last word on that.
We are all in the same concern. We are so grateful to the governor and his commitment to our students. I think this week kind of run a statewide food bank, so to speak, for all of our children to be able to access those meals. So I'm in great company with the president, CEO, as well as the executive director to making sure that we are committed to ensuring that our children are fed, very much our most vulnerable population, along with making sure that they're fed. As the senator stated earlier, empty bellies can't learn. And that's definitely a motto that we live by. So making sure that we maintain access is our number one responsibility.
Thank you so much. Suzanne Morales from the California School Nutrition Association. We're going to keep on moving. Hey, good evening, Amy. Amy's coming to us from Petaluma. I'm going to go to Carly Robbins. Well, Californians now have to utilize its own food industry, for example, farmlands, fruits, and nut groves and vegetable fields to feed its own people first before sending those out to other states. Then what about staples like rice and beans? And can the governor of California work closely with Mexico's government for some resources like avocados, fruits, and coffee? I'll tell you, thank you so much, by the way, Amy. We work very closely with our North American partners in Canada, as well as in Mexico. In fact, Mexico and Canada are among the top trade partners for the state of California. As you know, California is the fourth largest economy in the world, the number one economy in the United States of America. And we have deep economic and cultural ties with both Mexico and Canada. And we have deep ties with Mexico in particular, with our agricultural industry, with many California corporations working within Mexico for winter fruit and vegetables. I say all of that is we're going to continue to chart our future, our own trade deals with both of these countries. But it is a very difficult time when it comes to trade with them because of the federal tariffs that have been enacted. But we are not going to stop. We're going to continue to chart our future. I appreciate that. I'm going to go from Amy. Carly, your thoughts on increased contributions, donations from the ag industry coming in to food banks across the state if things get bad?
Yeah, I mean, frankly, the majority of the produce that we do get comes from California farmers. Right now, the majority of the food in our food bank is funded through the Cal Food program. So that is all coming from California producers. So strengthening those ties, encouraging more donations is huge. That's already something that's being done by, our entire state association of food banks. Allison, I know, does a lot with the produce end, and she can speak to it even more. But California farmers do take care of California food banks.
Thank you so much. Allison, 30 seconds on this question, and then we're going to keep moving.
Yeah, we've really got it nailed, quite honestly. So California is feeding California. I think our California Ag has really stepped up in a big way for food banks. California Association of Food Banks is super proactive on the advocacy side. They have a great relationship with, really the governor and the state. I mean, they've made Cal Food happen. They're keeping Californians fed, quite honestly. So we're super grateful. That's not true in other states and other food banks across the country. We're very, very, very lucky for all of the efforts that California Farm and Ag have done on behalf of the people that are facing hunger.
Allison Goodwin, President and CEO of the Redwood Empire Food Bank. We're going to stick with you. We're going to go to Erica. Erica is coming to us from Santa Rosa. What backup plan do we have in place if this funding is gone? What measures do we have that can make sure this funding doesn't go away? Allison Goodwin, CEO of Redwood Empire Food Bank.
I don't know that we have control over whether this funding goes away. I mean, I look back to you from like just a political landscape to speak to that. But I will say what we've been talking about tonight is our ask for help and our transparency to this community about what we're facing. So again, I say with a righteous path and a level of pride and commitment that we're going to be there for the people that need us. How we're going to do that is really to be determined. We're a smart, fiscally responsible organization, but we're not too proud to also say this is a heavy lift and we can't do it alone. So I think it is really those of us coming together that run nonprofits and that are serving a similar community to say, can we support one another? Can we allow people to, come for resources that wouldn't otherwise know about them? So do we tell each other's clients, hey, I know where you can go to get this resource or that resource? Because I really think that we're going to be stronger together because we're going to need to show up for one another, I think.
No, it's well said, Ms. Goodwin. Erica, I'll be very quick, 30 seconds or less. Backup plan, the state is already putting in more money in the Cal Food program than we typically do on an average year. That money has now been invested with California food banks. I want to be very clear, though. It is not going to backfill the federal food assistance, the SNAP funding, when that goes away next year. So we have a Band-Aid at this point, ensuring that we don't miss a beat. But millions across this country, 50 million to be exact, are on federal food assistance, and they will either see their benefits severely reduced or cut all the way. And what that is going to mean is that folks will then flood even more into food banks without any reimbursement. That's the bottom line. And so your second is, what measures do we have to make sure this funding doesn't go away? Vote. Elections matter. And if any time in our history this election mattered, President Trump has taken away healthcare benefits for millions, food assistance for millions. He's coming after Social Security. I will tell you, what you can do is vote. And I'll leave it right there. I'm going to keep on moving if it works for folks, and we are getting so many questions. Iris writes in, is there a way we can pay our federal income taxes directly to the state of California to make up for the money that is being withheld by the Trump administration? Iris, thank you so much for that question. Look, California donates $80 billion more in federal taxes than we receive. $80 billion more. We are one of the largest donor states in the United States of America. And when we compare ourselves with Texas, Texas takes $65 to $70 billion more than they give. So I think it would be very difficult to be able to withhold federal taxes and not deliver it to the federal government. Being very blunt with you, Iris, I think it would be deemed unconstitutional. Now, granted, the president does a lot of action that's unconstitutional, but I just don't think that will fly with United States Supreme Court. But believe me, we have absolutely thought about it if times get really rough. Very grateful for that. I want to go to Lynn. Lynn, good evening, coming to us from Santa Rosa. I'm retired and living with a disability, and I'm eager to volunteer my time in support at a local food bank. Can you please guide me on how to connect with the appropriate person or team to get started? Allison's eyes just lit up. She just said in the old Price is Right, saying, come on down. Allison, how the heck do folks get involved with the Reverend Empire Food Bank?
We have everything on our website. So if somebody has a computer or a phone, they can go to refb.org. And there's a button in the corner to donate time, donate money, and or pick up groceries if they need it. So it's a one-stop shop. They can sign up to volunteer. We have distributions where they can hand out groceries. We have warehouse shifts. We have a lot of fun in the kitchen, making on-the-spot nutrition. And we've just started farm partnerships where you can even, work in the farm, local farms like Farm to Fight Hunger that grow food that goes right back into the community. And so you can pick if you want to be indoors, outdoors with the people, or putting headphones in your ears and listening to a podcast.
Thank you so much, Allison Goodwin from Reverend Empire Food Bank. I'm going to turn it over to Carly Robbins, Executive Director of Food for People. How to get involved, that's from Lynn. And then I want to make sure you hit this as well, Carly. Mary, wrong one. I want to go to, keep going. I'm going to get to our Crescent City question in just a moment. Carly, take it away.
Similarly, on our website, foodforpeople.org, you can sign up to volunteer. We have volunteer opportunities for all sorts of folks. Lots of people think they can't volunteer because maybe they can't stand for prolonged periods of time, but we have anything from doing intake interviews where you're just sitting down talking to folks, sorting produce in our warehouse, bagging, driving food to deliver to homebound seniors and other folks, and even gleaning in the field. So there are all sorts of opportunities of ways to get involved. And frankly, that would go for just about any food bank in Northern California, Crescent City, Mendocino, and on. So just reach out to your local food bank or local food pantry. If you are not close to the food bank, there are pantries likely close to you who can use the help.
And that gets to the next question. And I'm sorry, Carly, I couldn't find what Mary was asking. Mary says, can you make sure to discuss food bank locations and issues in Del Norte? Carly, take it away from Mary.
Yeah, well, in Del Norte, I know there are a couple institutions doing food distribution, and both of them are great, doing great work. You can go online to research both of those. There's Rural Human Health and the Food Council up there. For Food for People, it's as simple as going to our website. You can click Find Food Near Me, and there is a map there where you can find the food distribution closest to you, because transportation is often one of the biggest hurdles for accessing services.
Carly Robbins, Executive Director of the Food for People, the Humboldt County's Food Bank. We're taking your questions live tonight. Good evening. We just crossed 7 o'clock. We have about another 10, 15 minutes, and we are going to need to wrap up. But if you would like to get your questions in, please do so now. Senator.mcguire@senate.ca.gov. And we want to say, how are you doing? Good evening to Mary Banks. Mary Banks from Santa Rosa writes in, what is the single most underaddressed hunger need, and how can I, as one person, make a difference? Suzanne Morales, President of the California School Nutrition Association, if you can comment to Ms. Banks.
Well, I think you've kind of covered it partially in the fact that vote. For schools, unfortunately, we can't take the volunteers that the food banks can, but definitely reaching out to your local food bank is great. Again, with schools, we just have that layer of security when it comes to children and in school districts themselves. But really, as an individual, I was just thinking, representing the school nutrition folks that I do with over 2,000 members, is really even reaching out to our members to do some volunteer work in their local food banks, whether it's Northern, Southern California. We find the need doesn't make a difference, whether it's, in the middle of a farm or the middle of an urban neighborhood. So the need is, as my colleagues have stated, the need is still great for even the one person to make a difference. So reach out to your local food bank, I think, is the easiest and number one thing that we need to do.
President Morales of the California School Nutrition Association. Thank you. Carly, let's go to Ms. Banks. What is the single most underaddressed hunger need, and how can she, as one person, make a difference?
Well, I think that the key thing there is to think that as an individual, you can't make a difference. That's not true. It's everything combined that helps these programs run. If you have the funds, donate to your local food bank. That's the easiest and most impactful way to make a difference. We buy wholesale, so that is huge. If you don't have the funds, but maybe you garden, donate excess to your local food bank. If you have the time to volunteer, get out and do that. And I will echo what everyone has said. The biggest thing you can do is vote.
Thank you so much, Carly. Let's go to Allison Goodwin. Redwood Empire Food Bank. Going to Ms. Banks. What is the single most underaddressed hunger need, and how can she make a difference?
I appreciate the question. I think if everybody asked that question, this world would be a better place. The challenge is that hunger is incredibly invisible. And so you might not see it. It might not be obvious to you. But I think that, again, reaching out to whatever the pantry is local to you, the food bank is local to you, there might be ways to help, one family over and over and over again. And there might be a way to, glean produce for what will serve hundreds that afternoon. So whatever your capabilities are, your stamina, your wallet, your time, we're a pretty fun place to get involved, and you'll feel good walking away no matter how you choose to engage.
Allison Goodwin, President and CEO of Redwood Empire Food Bank. We're taking your questions live. Good evening. Thank you all for joining us. Mike McGuire, State Senator, honored to be able to work with you in the North Bay and North Coast. We're talking all issues of hunger tonight with food bank leaders in school nutrition. And we are so appreciative of your engagement. We're hearing literally from hundreds of folks from across Northern California. I want to go to our next question, and this is coming from Haerah, Haerah, from Ukiah. I apologize, Ms. Baird, that I butchered your first name. Thank you so much for writing in. This is going to be for Suzanne. When will kitchens in our schools start being used again to cook homemade fresh meals for our kids? Suzanne, take it away.
Sure. Thank you for the question. This is definitely a hot button for us. The California legislature did donate, if you will, or provide supplemental funding to the tune, I believe it's of $850 million over a few years to what we call kitchen infrastructure and training funds, as well as best practices, best practices. There's not a food service director in California who doesn't want to scratch make everything they give to children. Back in the 30s and 40s, when you see those kitchens are quite large. If those kitchens, however, were done in the 70s and 80s, when school food brought in fast food, those kitchens are non-existent. Health department regulations, all of those things really take a toll on what you can do in the kitchen. Last year in my school district, we did over 3 million meals to students, and I do not have one elementary kitchen who can scratch cook food. So we do it out of our high schools, which act as central kitchens. And so every director is very creative. And again, farm to school has been very helpful. I know our farmers, in talking with them, are looking how can they take food directly off the field and put it into packages, if you will, so that we can serve them in schools that can't serve open food. I literally have my elementary schools are not allowed to have unpackaged anything, whether they're scratch cooked and we package them or we bring it in. And we have a local farmer we work with within about 50 miles who does that for us. So they literally pick oranges, cut them, and put them into bags for us so that we can put them on the table that next afternoon. So we are using that. So as far as overall, we're working on it. That, like I said, that gift of funds was in kitchen and infrastructure and training funds is allowed us to be able to start to grow our kitchens and put in better infrastructure so that we can cook directly.
Suzanne Morales, President of the California School Nutrition Association. Thank you. We're coming to you, Allison Goodwin, CEO of Redwood Empire Food Bank. Wendy writes in, good evening, Wendy. Can anything be done for people who are afraid to come to donation sites for fear of being confronted by ICE? Madam CEO, take it away.
Yeah, I mean, really, it's up to the individual what their comfort level is. So we have direct service distributions that are, many are outdoors, some are certainly inside. And so really it's up to somebody's comfort. Like I said earlier, we do have a robust proxy system. So we do encourage them. They can just call us and add somebody onto their profile. So they'd say, oh, I'm giving permission for, and they don't have to tell us why, but giving us a name of somebody that can pick up groceries on their behalf. And there are grassroots efforts. So if somebody's interested in how they can get more involved in doing a little bit of behind the scenes home delivery, again, we don't ask people why. We don't know people's family status. It's none of our business, quite honestly. If they're hungry, we want to feed them. And so it could be that you're picking up for somebody just because they have a medical appointment. It's really not just about, fear of immigration. There are plenty of people that were born and raised in multi-generation here, and they still are not trusting of the federal government having their data right this second. And so we're even hearing from people that would otherwise not have a concern and say, I am really concerned. I'm fearful that Social Security is next and they will have my information. And so there's a lot of fear going on that aren't just people that are non-citizens.
I want to go to, thank you so much, Allison Goodwin, CEO of Redwood Empire Food Bank. Carly, Food for People. Can anything be done for people who are afraid to come to donation site for fear of being confronted by ICE? Carly Robbins, take it away.
Yeah, I would echo what Allison said. We have a proxy system where if you cannot make it to the food bank for whatever reason, be that, physically or just you don't feel comfortable coming, you can send a proxy on your behalf. We also have amazing partners we work with in communities where it might feel less official. Folks are happy to take advantage of those and welcome to take advantage of those as well. We want everyone coming to us for food assistance to feel welcome, feel respected, and feel like they have the dignity to, access the food they need to feed their families.
Thank you so much. That is Carly Robbins, Executive Director of Food for People. I'm going to go to Gigi, coming to us from Humboldt. I'm a concerned citizen in Humboldt County who's deeply worried about what will happen to my family if the government shutdown impacts my CalFresh benefits come November. I have an elderly semi-retired mother who relies on CalFresh, as well as my 10-year-old child and myself. What is California prepared to do in the emergency situation that California's most vulnerable populations do not get their SNAP EBT benefits due to the federal shutdown? Thank you so much, Gigi, for that. I will tell you, we are monitoring this very closely, and any potential impacts, especially to those who are most vulnerable, in what we may need to do rapidly to be able to assist on a temporary basis when this shutdown is taking place. I don't have any insight about how long this will last, but I assure you, Gigi, that we are monitoring it closely. I want to give you a phone number to call, and I'd love to talk with you about your specific situation. If you call 707-576-2771, ask for Carrie. I work with Carrie each and every day. That is a number personally to our office. And Gigi, I'd like to talk with you about your specific situation, 707-576-2771, and would love to talk with you and how we can help. I want to go to Deborah. Deborah writes in, I would think a lot of Californians' problem for not being able to help feed the poor citizens of California is due to all of the illegal people that come into our state from other countries, getting handouts from our government agencies and our tax dollars. Our state has spent significantly more than other states on illegal immigration from other countries. I'm tired of hearing from California Democratic politicians that it is all President Trump's fault. That comes from Deborah. Deborah, I want to reiterate, and I understand that President Trump is on television, on social media, lying, but I want to tell you the truth. The truth is this. You cannot receive federal food assistance if you are an undocumented resident in the United States of America. You cannot receive, per federal law, health insurance if you are an undocumented resident. I understand, and it's deeply unfortunate that there are those who are saying otherwise, because that is a lie. And I'll also say, California is going to stand up for all citizens. We are the most diverse state in the United States of America. And you're damn right that we are going to defend those who call this state home. And if it does not call on you based off of a human factor, I want to talk about economics. Half of the Central Valley's farm worker workforce are undocumented residents. Half. A third of the construction workforce in the county of Los Angeles, a third are undocumented residents. Undocumented residents help move California's economy forward. If they were not here, our economy would collapse. I'm a believer, and I know we'll disagree on this, that we should take care of those who are here and contributing. But if you don't believe in that, I would also hope you see that those individuals that you criticize and go after are putting food on your damn table every night and doing work that the vast majority of folks simply and physically can't do. And I know that's going to be a differing opinion, but I want to get, you gave me ours, I'll give you mine. And I want to reiterate, federal law does not allow federal food assistance to go to those who are undocumented residents. Thank you again for your question. I want to turn to Lilith. Good evening, Lilith, coming to us from Sebastopol. How can the community help strengthen our resilience? I want to go to Suzanne Morales, president of the California School Nutrition Association, if you wanted to talk directly with Lilith.
Yes, thank you for the question too. The resilience too of child nutrition and in our schools is really whether you can afford to pay for your breakfast and lunch. The goal really of universal meals is for families to be able to put those dollars someplace else in the community, whether it is providing for food for their dinners, et cetera, and as well as putting it in for providing for their bills. We want to be able to feed our students and take that burden off of families throughout California, regardless of socioeconomic status. And so supporting school meals and the nutrition that goes along with school meals is so important for all of us as operators across the state.
Carly Robbins.
As we've mentioned before, I think the single largest thing folks can do right now is reach out to their local food bank, their local food pantry, any program, Meals on Wheels, to see how they can help, because we're really going to have to come together to help one another in the face of the cuts that we're seeing and the impacts that we're going to see.
Allison Goodwin.
I would say yes, because we've said all those things, but also go one kind of level deeper and talk to your neighbors. Like, do you have a senior that is otherwise somewhat isolated and maybe they've owned their home for a long time, so that's why they're able to live in it, but they're otherwise struggling on a fixed income to keep up with their property taxes, and maybe you could be their proxy or help them to a medical appointment. And so I think, quite honestly, nobody's going to do this alone. So get to know someone that might need help. I think whatever you've learned tonight, or if you're curious about more, I would love to talk to people about what we're doing at the Redwood Empire Food Bank. So if they want to understand how we do the fun stuff and how we make that stuff also really important, then they can go out and really talk to their community about how more and more people can get involved. So I think the more we know, the more we can speak to it, and then it'll beget more and more action and more help for people that need it.
Allison Goodwin, Redwood Empire Food Bank. We're going to start wrapping up here in just a couple of moments for our panelists. For your closing comments, 2 points I'm going to have you think about. We have a couple more questions, but 2 points for closing comments. If folks are able, how can they help? And the second, if you need food assistance, how can you access it? That's for our closing comments. We have a couple more questions in front of us. Let's go to Denise. Denise says, many people like to volunteer help, but have time constraints. Is there any advice on how to address the cause of a volunteer shortage? Please, Carly Robbins.
Yeah, it is true. Lots of volunteer opportunities tend to be during the week when lots of folks are working. The best thing would be to reach out to the entities that utilize volunteers, from food banks to others, and see if they have weekend or after hours opportunities. For us, we do have the occasional weekend sorting project or packing project, those types of things. But lots of us are looking at ways that we can help expand volunteer opportunities in the face of additional volunteer requirements for benefits.
Carly Robbins, Executive Director of Food for People. Let's go to Allison Goodwin, CEO of the Redwood Empire Food Bank.
I would say stay tuned for something exciting coming from the Redwood Empire Food Bank, but it'll go viral. You just wait. But the idea that people are strapped for time and people do want to help. And so really working with local, entities and pantry partners and Rotaries and to say, what does that look like to do really neighborhood pickups? And so you can sign up to be a food donor. Volunteers will come and pick it up right off your porch and deliver it to a local pantry. So it supports our entire network. It allows people to get involved, learn more about this important work that we do. And then it's kind of easy, quite honestly. So if you're a busy family on a Saturday morning, you go, oh, great. Yeah, I picked up an extra thing of peanut butter and some pasta and, put it on your front porch, and a good Samaritan who signed up to be a volunteer driver will come pick it up. So stay tuned for more ways to get involved.
Look at that, teasing us here. Coming big program coming up from Allison Goodwin. That is very exciting. And Allison, throw out your website, please.
www.refb.org.
Thank you so much. And I will say Carly's foodforpeople.org, because I've said it so many times during our Humboldt Holiday Food Drive, which is coming up in December. Am I right, Carly?
Yes. Yeah. And definitely, if you're looking at a way to get involved, that is a great way. You get to engage with amazing students from our local high schools who are just incredible, doing amazing things. Senator McGuire will be there, and it's a huge help to us during the holiday season.
The big guy's going to show up, Santa again. Am I right, Carly?
Yes. Can't wait for Santa. It's really a party, but it's also a food and fun drive.
That's what I'm saying. My goodness, very grateful. All right, we're going to go to one of our last questions. This is coming in from Sherilyn. She has reached out to federal representatives, and I want to say thank you to Congressman Thompson and Congressman Huffman here locally. We are so lucky to have both of them fighting for us. What do you suggest we do to reach people at the federal level about the severity of cuts? Let's start with President Morales. How should they advocate, Madam President?
Yeah, we in school nutrition, we actually have an advocacy time, but we really encourage our own operators to reach out to your local federal legislators. They work for you, and making sure that they understand one-on-one, whether it is a personal note, whether it is an email, whether it is visiting them in their home office. It's important to engage with your federal legislators. They're there for you. And so I think the single most important piece of that really is to, again, use your voice and explain how you would vote. And so making sure that engagement with your federal legislator is there.
Thank you so much, Ms. Morales. Let's go to Ms. Goodwin, President and CEO of Redwood Empire Food Bank. How to engage federally?
I think education is key, especially in what we seem to be in this climate of getting upset. I don't think that people need to be unkind and assuming. I think if you're feeling passionate about something, if you say, I hate the fact that kids are going to school hungry, that you craft a message that says, that's really important to me. And this is why I think it should be important to you and is important to our future generations. So lead with kindness, but also encouraging the things that you want to see and how you can be a solution. I really appreciate the questions tonight that have really been, how can I help and what can I do? I think that's fantastic. And I appreciate the energy that people are bringing to the conversation.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Carly from Food for People.
Yeah, I would echo what folks have said. Reaching out with your message, with a clear, concise message on what is really important to you and why is huge. Also, from state to federal representatives, they have amazing teams who will often talk to you. So if you have an issue you want to talk about in person, they have amazing teams. So reach out, send that email, make your message clear.
Thank you so much, Carly Robbins, Food for People. All right, we're going to start wrapping up, and I just want to say a few thank yous. Thank you so much to each of our panelists for their amazing work. Can I just be honest? They are working on behalf of some of the most vulnerable each and every day. Suzanne represents thousands of nutritionists who are feeding millions of kids across the state. I just want to say thank you. You have a thankless job at times, and the work that you do is literally changing lives. To Carly and to Allison, they are champions in our community, and they see through it. They see through the politics, and they put people first. And it doesn't matter if they're an independent, a Republican, or a Democrat. They put people first. Those who are hungry, families, seniors, veterans, and they focus on their well-being. And I cannot say thank you enough to both Allison and Carly, who've literally dedicated their lives to changing lives. We are so appreciative. We want to start wrapping up, and I want to ask each of our panelists, if folks are able, how can they help? If folks need food assistance, how can they access it? Let's start with Carly. Carly Robbins, Executive Director of Food for People. Take us home.
Well, first off, to help, you can come visit us at the Humboldt Holiday Food Drive Showdown with the Senator and our students on December 11th. You can go onto our website, foodforpeople.org. You can give there or find out how you can support. And similarly, if you or someone you know is in need of food assistance, go to foodforpeople.org. If you're in Humboldt County, we have a full list of our distributions there. You can search by location or what time works best for your schedule, or just give us a call. Our number is 707-445-3166. If you don't know how to get started and you have questions, we are here to help.
Carly Robbins, you're one of the best, Executive Director of Food for People. Please thank your board as well. We're going to now go to Suzanne Morales. So appreciate you, Madam President, from the California School Nutrition Association, for being with us tonight, for your work. Take us home on those 2 points.
Well, I think in school nutrition, they kind of go hand in hand. How can you help, and how can people have better access? I think Allison had touched on this before, is I'm always shocked on how many parents don't know that all meals in public schools are offered at no charge. And still to this day, 5 years later, I get questions from parents who say, well, how much are meals now, or how much are they? And really getting the word out. Allison had said, talk to your neighbor, talk to somebody. So as far as help and access for school nutrition, it really goes hand in hand. Make sure that that conversation doesn't die, that your friends and families who have children, let them know that the access is for anyone in a public school, receives free breakfast and free lunch, and utilize those resources and access them. So for school nutrition, it might look a little different as far as calling up to volunteer, but volunteer your knowledge, volunteer the knowledge to your friends, your family, your neighbors, so children are accessing some of the healthiest meals that are available. And that's documented again from the Centers for Disease Control, that school nutrition is among the healthiest nutrition available. So
That's right. Improves test scores, plus fights obesity and changes lives. Thank you so much, Ms. Morales. We are so grateful for your leadership. Allison Goodwin, nice job tonight. We are so grateful. President and CEO of the Redwood Empire Food Bank, take us home.
So how people can access food, we like to think is easy and painless, and that we're fun and accessible. So people can go onto our website. There's a button in the top right corner. So refb.org, click Get Food, and then you put in your zip code or whatever you're comfortable in terms of proximity. That's how it'll show people all the options. We also have a text food, or text the word comida, and so somebody can text if a computer is challenging to them, and so they can find out how to get food from us that way. And then really how people can help. Again, education is key. They can sign up to get information from us. We send out newsletters and educational materials. No gift is too small. So you've heard the challenges that we're facing and the need as it increases. And I know that people tend to think about hunger between November and December because it is the holiday season. And Carly and I will be the first to tell you we're lucky that our nonprofits have a season. But we need people thinking about hunger also between December and November. And so we have monthly giving programs, we have planned gift programs. I'm speaking for Carly that she probably does too. So wherever you are in the community, really you can make a huge difference. You can give a gift now, you can give gifts monthly, sort of a set it and forget it, attend events, share what we're up to, and get involved. And we look forward to meeting you.
Alex Goodwin, President and CEO of Redwood Empire Food Bank. Thank you. Thank your team, your board as well. And I just want to say thank you to each and every one of you. Look, I'll be the first to say, I think we're living in challenging times. But here's what I firmly believe. Hunger knows political identity. It transcends politics. Hunger is all about people. And the federal food assistance programs do three amazing things in life. It does a lot of good. It makes a difference, and it literally changes lives. Millions of families, kids and seniors, veterans, they are dependent on federal food assistance to be able to put food on their table each and every month. And that's all I would say is this isn't about politics. This is literally about putting people first, above politics, and making sure that we can rise up as a nation to deliver for them. And when it comes to universal school meals, it's one of the best programs that we have ever implemented here in California. No matter your income, you receive free breakfast and lunch. If you're in an after school program, you receive a snack afterwards. It literally changes a kid's outlook in the classroom. Having a full tummy, no matter if you're in elementary, middle, or high school, will literally change your outlook for life. And I just want to say thank you to Suzanne for her work as well. And what a game changer that program has been in schools across the state. Because I will tell you, my wife's an elementary school principal. Many times for the most vulnerable kids, breakfast and lunch are the only meals that they're getting. And they won't get dinner. And that, I start getting emotional. I'm a father to a 4-year-old, so I just cannot imagine that. And so it is a game changer. And the last thing I'll just appeal to each and every one of you. The holidays are upon us. Thanksgiving is just around the corner. We got Hanukkah and Christmas coming up. If you can, get involved with Food for People. Get involved with the Redwood Empire Food Bank. Donate, take action, show up, do what you can to be able to help neighbors in need right now. It will make it feel good and it will make our community stronger. I just want to say thank you to the team that helped put on tonight's town hall. Carrie, thank you so much. And Nora and Hannah, thank you. Rhiannon, very grateful. I want to say thank you to Brian and Rhiannon and Xavier for all of their work. If you need to get a hold of us, please reach out to us directly. 707-576-2771. You can always email us. It comes straight to my phone, senator.mcguire@senate.ca.gov, senator.mcguire@senate.ca.gov. I answer many times personally, and I look forward to hearing from you. Thank you so much for tuning in tonight. California, stay strong and God bless the people.